I am a firm believer that creativity and originality are what make us human. It's what brings societies and cultures together and even communities together. And today we're going to be chatting with a group of people who have come together to prepare and present a piece of creative and original performance art. So put on the brakes, grab a cup of coffee, and join the conversation because it's time for Coffee Breaks with Steve. Well, welcome to Coffee Breaks with Steve. I'm Steve Glavin, and this is the show where we come together around our virtual coffee table each week and join the conversation to chat about interesting topics with amazing guests. If you're joining us for the first time today, welcome. And if you've been with us before, welcome back. Yeah, we are going to be talking to the cast of Fiona in the Middle. It's a brand new original musical, and we actually, if you go back a few months, back to last April, we had Jenny Conley on the show to talk about this production because it was co-written by Jenny and her dad, Jeff Windsor. Started it together, and then almost a year ago, Jeff passed away, and Jenny, both to press forward in creating Fiona in the Middle and to honor her dad, worked diligently to complete this and then brought a group of us together to help prepare it and get it ready. In a week from tonight, it will be on stage for the first time as a dramatic reading with the music, with the original music. So I'm excited to be able to share. We're going to be meeting most of the cast today who are able to join us to record a conversation about the musical, what they think of it, why they got involved, why they think people should come and see this. So we'll be talking about that in just a few minutes. First, we're going to be talking about our sweet and savory. How's everybody doing, by the way? Should say hello to some people because a number of people have joined in already in the conversation. Shalann's here. Good morning, Shalann. Dee Dee is here. Good morning, Dee Dee. Jerry Thompson. Good morning, Rick Venturi. Everybody drink. That's right, Kathy Garlick. If you are joining the conversation live, and it is, by the way, if you're tuning in live, it is Saturday, September 28th, 2024. So if you are tuning in live and you're part of this conversation, say hi so that we know that you're here. And then when we get into our conversation with the cast of Fiona in the Middle, make sure that you participate in the chat. This is your virtual coffee table. If you're tuning in later on and you're watching this on either Facebook or YouTube, we also encourage you to go ahead and make your comments in the chat. They'll be visible. People can respond to them. And it's just part of the fun of being here. Oh, Kathy has a cold. Oh, no. Well, get over it. You got to come up here to see the show next week. So get over your cold. All right. Yes, do continue to make your comments. We're going to talk about our sweet and savory, which is the items that come up that we just like to share. And some of them are sweet and some of them are a little more savory. And as Shalann would say, if she hasn't already said it, it's the charcuterie. Hi, Tracy Whitney. Good to see you here as well. All right, I have to share something. It's just kind of, this is one of those, happens rarely in the lifetime, at least in my lifetime, kind of events. When I was driving, I'm in Portland right now, drove from Spokane to Portland last weekend as we're in the final preparation for our show. And I knew it was going to happen. And on the way here, the odometer in my vehicle rolled over to 100,000 miles. And that's always, I mean, that's a big deal, right? We track those things. I went so far as to, I was driving on a straight portion of the freeway and I was watching around me. I wasn't staring at the odometer, but I held my phone briefly. I know you're supposed to keep it in the holder. I held it briefly with the video camera on so I could capture that moment when the odometer rolled over from 99,999 to 100,000. I just thought it was kind of cool. So I thought I'd share that with y'all. What else to share? Yeah, this was something that's just hit the news yesterday. Dame Maggie Smith passed away at the age of 89. What an iconic, really, even King Charles of England and his statements referred to her as a national treasure, really an international treasure. Just so many iconic roles, including her roles in more recent roles. I mean, she had a long-standing career going into theater and first appearing on stage in England in the early 1950s, 1952, and then starting to get more featured roles and breaks, and then hitting the American screen, first some British movies and then the American screen. And Harry Potter, Downton Abbey in recent years. A lot of people know her from those, but so many roles, serious and comedic roles in so many movies and television and stage roles over the years. A lot of people may not realize, thinking, I mean, we think of Maggie Smith in her later years, but she did have a number of very iconic roles even early. In 1969 was her first Oscar win for a role that she played in a film called The Prime of Miss Jean Brodie. And this is a picture from that film. I mean, this is a young Maggie Smith. My goodness, what really an eternal beauty. She was beautiful throughout her life. And just also just a bevy of awards. 2 Academy Awards, multiple nominations, a Tony Award, 4 Primetime Emmy Awards, 5 British Academy Film Awards, 3 Golden Globes, and 5 Screen Actors Guild Awards, among others. Interestingly, she never won a Grammy, which would have made her an EGOT. But come on, she was still definitely, you could say that Maggie Smith, arguably, if not an EGOT, is at least the GOAT, one of the greatest of all time. So Maggie Smith, thank you for all the memories and for the legacy that you leave. Can you hear that my voice is just the frogs in the throat this morning? Goodness, I'm going to have to drink a little bit more. Hey, a couple other things to share. This one's important. Hang on, I do have to drink again. Okay. Let me clear my notes here so I can see. When I'm traveling, of course, I've got a different setup than at home, so that's my excuse for moving things around. This was a study that was conducted by a group of researchers from China and Sweden who found that regular coffee or caffeine consumption may offer a protective effect against developing multiple cardiometabolic diseases like coronary heart disease and stroke, the most common killers in human society today. It was detailed in a new research published in the Endocrine Society, saying that 3 cups of coffee per day were associated with those in the study cohort who had a lower profile for a novel risk marker called new onset cardiometabolic multimorbidity, which basically, if you go into this in greater detail, just says that for people who had not yet had an onset of like cardiovascular disease or things that might contribute to stroke or to heart attack, that drinking coffee showed that they were less likely, 48% less likely to develop that. So here at Coffee Breaks with Steve, we are always interested in studies that will share the benefits of coffee. Speaking of which, tomorrow is National Coffee Day in the United States. Now, listen, personally, I think every day is National Coffee Day and International Coffee Day, but September 29th is officially National Coffee Day. So we can all raise a toast to that, particularly if you're drinking coffee right now. Let's raise a toast and everybody drink. Yes, that's worthwhile. All right, just going to check again and see who's chatting here. Oh, I did want to mention as well some birthdays today. This week, Olivia Sargent. Olivia is an actress and a nonprofit professional who lives and works in New York City. Met her some months ago, and Olivia joined us on Coffee Breaks with Steve a few months back and talked about both her acting and her work in the nonprofit world to try to promote performing and performance art. And so happy birthday this week to Olivia. And then on October 2nd, a few weeks ago, we had a married couple who are teachers in California, Jason and Sherilyn Boris, on the show to talk about it, both music teachers. You may recall that episode. Well, Sherilyn is enjoying a birthday this week as well on October 2nd. So happy birthday to Sherilyn Boris. And then this one is very special. I simply not only can't ignore it here, but you can bet I'm going to be focusing on it this coming weekend. But my wife, Carol, is celebrating her birthday on October 4th. And she is actually going to be coming to town to see the play Fiona in the Middle. So Carol has never been a big one for parties or big celebrations. We got to find some creative. We're talking about creativity and originality today. Creative and original ways to celebrate Carol's birthday when she's here this weekend. So that will be fun. But happy birthday to my dear sweet wife. Dear sweet life, dear sweet wife, I love you very much. Dear sweet life is not bad either. Hey, do you have a special day this week that we missed? I didn't have it on my calendar. I overlooked it somehow, which never happens. But if you have a special day this week that we should be celebrating and acknowledging with you, put that in the chat right now, and we can acknowledge you right now. And I'm just glancing to see if anybody puts anything in there. That's fine. If maybe it's your birthday, maybe it's your anniversary, maybe it's someone very, very dear to you, and you would like to make sure they get a shout out, we'll do that. Also, if you have a special day coming up in the future, maybe it's next month or sometime later this year, you can send us an email so that we do get it on our calendar and we can include it in our acknowledgments during our sweet and savory. Email that to cbwsteve@comcast.net and we'll make sure to include that. Okay, that's it. Listen, I want to talk just for a moment about this play that we're doing and the cast. And just a little bit of background. You may have seen the episode with Jenny Connolly a few months back. And if not, you can go back and watch that and get a lot more detail and the backstory of how this show came about. But with just a little bit of a background on this, as I mentioned before, Jenny has been involved in acting and singing and even stand-up comedy for several years, and has worked to try to hone her craft and to be involved in the community theater scene in the Portland metropolitan area. And as so many actors encounter, has gone to auditions, gotten great response from directors, and then told, sorry, you didn't get the part. And in talking about that with her dad, they decided to form their own little mini production company, Windsor Knot Productions, and to start producing their own plays. And they got really creative and decided that they should begin by writing an original play, and then went so far as to say we should write an original musical. Neither one of them are specifically musicians, but very, very talented writers. And so they got to work on writing this play that would give Jenny an opportunity to get up on stage her own featured starring role. Why not? Create your own opportunities. So they began working on this even as Jenny's dad, Jeff's health was starting to decline. And then about a year ago, Jeff passed away, and they were just about done with the first act of this play and had written some of the lyrics for some of the songs. Well, Jenny decided that she would continue with this, and she finished writing the play and added some features that actually kind of makes it a story within a story. And I'm not giving away any spoilers here, but the play Fiona in the Middle is about a young woman who's going through some challenges in life, and it deals with she and the people around her who are working with her, or in some cases maybe working against her as she deals with the challenges of life. Within that story, there are breakout scenes where you see not the character Fiona, who Jenny is playing, but you see Jenny interacting with her dad. And the dialogue in those scenes is actually based on conversations that she and her dad really had regarding the writing of Fiona in the Middle. So you get this back and forth that's happening where you're kind of getting a taste of their relationship and the development of the play and see the play happening. And there have been a number of shows that have been done where you kind of have the breakaway of what's happening in real life and then the story that's being told. Musicals like City of Angels and others that do that back and forth. I was asked by Jenny to review the script months ago, give her feedback. We had several conversations, and then she did something that really humbled me. She asked me if I would do two things with her and for her with this play. One, to direct it, and two, to play the part of the dad, essentially to play the part of her dad. And that is very humbling. But it was also a tremendous honor. Jenny and I have been dear friends for many years, and it was a tremendous honor to say yes, to accept that challenge and that opportunity. And as we started bringing it together, the ultimate goal was to present this as a full-scale production. But it also became evident as we were bringing it together, just with the time and the fact that we were still workshopping so much of this, that what really made sense was to present this as a staged reading with a full cast of actors and with all the music. And so that is what's going to be happening next week. And it's actually going to be a lot of fun. I think it's going to be very emotional, moments of humor, moments of really tugging at the heart, and some really, really well-written music. And so, in the process of putting this together, Jenny's in Portland. I'm in Spokane. How am I going to direct a play from several hundred miles away? So, I reached out and enlisted the help of my daughter, Carissa, who's a very skilled director and actor herself, and brought her in initially with the title of assistant director. Ultimately became evident she's the co-director. She was boots on the ground. She's the person who has been there to, at times, as we say, kick butts and make sure that things that are supposed to be happening were happening. And we brought together this cast, and through the process of just things that happen over the course of several months, with conflicts coming up, sometimes people's health becoming an issue, cast members changed. Even within the last couple months, we had to make some changes to the cast. And so we've now got this put together, and it's going to be presented at an actual performing venue, the Sherwood Center for the Arts. So that's background. And now what I want to do is give you an opportunity to meet most of the members of the cast. It's a cast of 7 people. You're going to see, including me, 6 people in this conversation. One of our cast members, Melissa Stanley, was not able to make it the evening that we recorded this, but is still vital member of the cast, and you'll see her referred to in pictures of her. But without any more of my rambling on, this is the conversation with the cast of Fiona in the Middle. All right. Well, Carissa, Nick, Jenny, Steve, Roxanne, thank you all for being here, joining us on Coffee Breaks with Steve as we take some time to talk about this amazing brand new production, Fiona in the Middle. And this is the majority of the cast who will be participating in the show on October 5th, just a week away. And I think one of the first things to ask each of you is just to kind of get a sense from each of you, because different members of this cast came in different ways at different times. What was it that brought you into being a part of Fiona in the Middle? How did that come about, and why did you decide to join this production? And I'm going to start with Roxanne and just ask you, Roxanne, what brought you here and why?
Well, I've known Jenny and David for a long time. I went to their wedding, and I just wanted to support Jenny in whatever way I could. And I wasn't sure that I was going to be good material, but I'm learning, and it's been a lot of fun.
And you're playing the part, and we're not giving away any spoilers about character development, but you're playing the part of the mom in this. And this is the role that you wanted to play. You wanted to play the part of Fiona's mom.
Yeah, so I felt like I could genuinely play the mom for Jenny, because I love her.
Nick, initially there were conflicts. You weren't going to be able to do the show. And all I know is that one day Jenny said Nick's on board. Now, there could be a lot more of a backstory to that, but I'm curious about your side of things in terms of your involvement with the show.
I was working out in Scappoose, which just made trying to schedule things and timing for things very difficult. I couldn't really do much community theater type stuff. But then I recently went back to driving school bus, and when Jenny messaged me and said, "Hey, do you want to?" She initially asked me, "Do you want to play the doctor, Steve's part?" I said, "Yeah, I can do the doctor." She said it's minimal rehearsal, so I was like, "Okay, I can manage that. I have time for that." And then switched me over to Marshall. I was like, "Yeah, I can do that." But Jenny and I, we've known each other. How long is it? When did we start at Mask and Mirror?
Gosh, I want to say close to 15 years ago.
And so when Jenny said, "Hey, I need help," I was, happy to jump in.
Excellent. Steve, you were another one of the people who got pulled into this a little bit on the latter side, and you're playing the part of the doctor in the show. How were you approached about this, and what was it that led you to agree to be a part of Fiona in the Middle?
Well, out of the blue, I got a text from Jenny, and she said, "Hey, I'm doing this thing, and it's really cool, and do you want to be a part of it?" So I said yes, but she said, "Well, do you sing?" And I thought, well, it depends on your definition of sing. So Fiona in the Middle is going to be my debut public performance of singing. So that might be more explainable to the rest of the cast now. But I'm having a lot of fun, and I'm really honored. And I love the song I'm singing, and now it's a duet, which is even cooler. And this show, Fiona in the Middle, is very real, and it will grab your heart. and I'm just very honored to be a part of it all.
Yeah. Carissa, you were involved in this relatively early on. Do you want to share a little bit about why, when, why, and how you got involved in this show?
Earlier this year, fairly early this year, I was seeing posts from Jenny. And it was after her father had passed away. And she'd been posting about kind of, there was this project that she and her dad had been working on, and she'd been feeling really motivated to just finish it. And then like 2 days later, she's posting that it's done, and my head almost exploded. And at that
Mine
point,
too.
right? And I got a phone call. I got a message from my dad, and he said, "Hey, I want to chat with you. Call me when you have some time." And so I called him, and he said, "Well, so Jenny's going to do this musical that she's written, and she asked me to direct it." And he said, I said yes, because there's a lot that I can do at a distance. But I was talking to your sister, he says, and I was trying to think, does it make sense to have somebody local to help kind of do the hands-on production of stuff while I'm not there? And he said, pretty much Shalana and I both said, well, duh, Carissa. So will you help us direct the show? Which was incredibly flattering and very, very nice to hear, since it's been 20 years since I've done a show. And so now I am also playing a smaller role, which is the nurse, which is a really fun little role. And I get a couple of nice little songs. And
Yeah. Steve, we said already that you've only been a part of this cast and a part of this process for a handful of weeks. So your
Yes.
journey has been over a shorter amount of time, but it's still been a journey. What has that felt like for you to be a part of this process from the time that Jenny first reached out and said, "Do you want to do this?" and you showed up, to now as we're getting ready to actually present this? What has the journey felt like?
Well, it's I guess the word that comes to my mind is comfortable. It's like Jenny. It's being in her presence. It's very comfortable.
That is so sweet.
it's true,
I felt like I had a secret, that singing really wasn't my thing. I've done a couple of things, but it certainly wasn't my strength. But the song that I sing as the doctor is perfect for me, and it's been wonderful to parachute into a situation and be fully welcomed by everybody, and that feels great.
That definitely feels like a very accurate description for, I think, both Nick and Steve, is parachuting
in.
Yeah.
And yours, your skydive in has been for a few more weeks than Steve's, but you were another one of those cast members, whereas changes had to take place because we did have people, there were some conflicts, there were some health issues, and in just revising elements of the script, some of the things we thought were going to work in even sort of doubling up some people for roles wasn't going to. So talk a little bit about your journey in the past several weeks in seeing this evolve.
It's been emotional, because it's an emotional show, and it's been, for me, the initial reason that I didn't go to the auditions was because of time crunch, and so that's the only thing that's been difficult for me. Working with you guys has been great. It's just the timing.
What I love about Nick being in this cast is not just that I've known him for as long as I have and worked with him before, and I know what to expect with Nick, which is so comforting. But Nick has been there from the beginning. Like, Nick was at the table, the infamous table read, you guys.
Yep.
I don't even know where to start with this table read. It'll be in the book later. It's just, You're just gonna have to try take my
It'll be
word
in the
for it.
memoirs.
And
Crazy.
and but Nick was like steady Eddie that night, and he watched me in my car, and I think just to make sure I'm okay, honestly. and
Yeah.
and he gave me such great feedback, and I actually took it and softened that brother character because of Nick's feedback, and
Mhm.
and and then it evolved again because of Melissa. So Nick's been a part of this from the beginning, really.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Roxanne, you have been since, from auditions, every single rehearsal. In fact, this is kind of a shout out and a special thank you, is that Roxanne has also been hosting the rehearsals in her home and providing refreshments and just
Yes.
the hostess with the mostest here. But so
Thank you
thank
so
you
much
for
for that.
that.
Thank you.
In addition
I'm the
to
mom.
that, you are the mom. It's that mom thing. You have been part of this journey all the way through since we auditioned, since we started going through and having our own table reads and changing characters, adding elements of characters, changing the music and a variety of other things. So I'm curious, from your perspective, what has it meant to you to be a part of this, and how has it impacted you?
Well, since my part didn't change, and I love that writer, what moms do when they have children that need help is they pray. And so I've just been praying the whole time through for when we had the struggle of this person was sick and they had to drop out, or whatever changes were coming. I was just behind the scenes lifting y'all up.
And yet you've also experienced, while your character didn't change, you have seen the dynamics change. You have seen
Oh, yes.
songs change, and has it felt to you like that has impacted the story, the quality, anything? How has that part of it felt to you, just watching it
Yes.
evolve?
Well, without giving the storyline away, the storyline is very personal to me in my own personal life in a couple different ways. And so I could really put myself into it and have compassion, true, genuine compassion where I needed it, and direction where I needed it, and encouragement where I needed it.
This is round robin, so not going to call you out by name. Anybody can answer this in any order, although I'd love to hear from each of you. Why should when this goes on the air, we'll be 1 week out from the show being presented at the Sherwood Center for the Arts. We'll share all the information here on our site. But just curious, from each of you, in your own words, why should people come to see this show?
I think people should come to see this show. And maybe this is a little just from my own perspective, because I have kind of the inside track on this, but it's not every day that you get to be not only the first audience for a new musical, not only a new musical, but a new local musical, something written by somebody in your community. But it's technically, we're workshopping this. This is an evolving piece of work right now. And I grew up in a theater family. I grew up in a very, what we've called artsy fartsy when I was growing up. So I've seen a lot of different types of productions of all kinds of things. Never in my life have I seen the early stages of a new musical as an audience member, as a cast member, as a director. I've never been a part of this. And so personally, I would want to come see this as an audience member, just to be able to say, I saw it as it was happening, as it was evolving, as it was building, and my feedback for the people involved can help shape it further. And that's such a unique position to be in, that I don't think people really think about. They don't get that opportunity all the time.
Yeah. Another great thing about the show is that it definitely touches a lot of bases. It's got comedy, it's got drama, it's very cathartic, and it's a musical. It's yeah, you get a little bit of everything.
And it's relatable. I think another thing kind
Yeah.
of on that same vein is
Yeah.
it's very relatable on multiple points through multiple characters. So
it is relatable, and it will remind you of how important family is. And we sometimes take for granted our fathers and mothers, sisters, brothers, friends, and there's so much heart that is in this script. I mean, if you don't relate to anything in this show, then you're probably an AI person.
Absolutely.
you're not human.
I think it'll be life-changing for people to allow their hearts to open to the content.
Jenny, why should somebody come and see this show?
I think there's a lot of reasons, but the one that pops into my mind, sorry, I feel the tears. This is the last thing my dad wrote. Somebody's last and they deserve to be heard. And it's beautiful.
Well, I've been asking all questions here, and of course, I am a part of this production as well. So I'm going to throw my own pitch for why people should come and who I think should come. And I think it's for anybody in the Portland metropolitan area or even beyond. If you like to take a nice little drive and maybe you spend the night there. This is for anybody in the region who has an appreciation for art. You've heard this from cast members talking about this is a work in progress. This is something that you get to be a part of. And my philosophy of it is, if you're coming to see Fiona in the Middle, we're not going to be acting at you. We are the storytellers, but you're part of the story too. And so if you want to be in something that can, people have been, members of the cast here have been saying this is relatable, and it's something that will hit on a lot of different levels for different people. So I would strongly encourage you. You've met now most of the cast of this show. We also have a great tech crew that's putting things together in the background. So good. But I would just encourage all of you to consider how you can do that. We are sharing the information about where the show is, when it is, and where you can get your tickets. And the tickets are not expensive. They're $10 tickets. So, this is an opportunity for you to invest in something that's going to be much more than what you pay for the ticket. And I want to thank every member of the cast, Carissa, Nick, Jenny, Steve, Roxanne. Thank you so much for taking the time to be here to share your own experiences and involvement with Fiona in the Middle. And we'll all be there on October 5th to bring this show truly to life with the audience.
Steve Clavin.
Heck yeah.
Steve Clavin, before you sign off.
Yeah.
This would not be happening without you.
Are you talking about this recording right now?
Yes.
Well, it's truly an honor. It's truly an honor and a pleasure to be a part of it.
From the moment I sent you the script, and then the words, "We need to talk," I was like, "Oh, this sucks." And just the way you have walked with me through, you guys don't. The cast probably doesn't know this except for Carissa. She's on the thread. Like, I blow up Steve's phone every single day.
As you should.
So incredibly grateful for you, and I love you so much. And this cast, I think after October 5th, when this is all over, what am I gonna do? I'm like so used to seeing everybody every week. It's really, I'm really just gonna miss that our time together, and I'm already there. You know what I mean? Like I'm already thinking about that. Like
It's almost over.
Anyway,
Yeah, no. That's the good thing
so
about this,
weird.
though. It's not. It's not almost over. That's the really cool thing about this is that it's just beginning. So just stay tuned because you guys have no idea what's down the line for
what
Fiona.
else is coming. That's right.
Yep.
Thank you all. Thanks for taking the
I
time
love
to
you.
join on Coffee Breaks with Steve. See you all soon.
Thanks, you guys.
All right. The conversation with the majority of the cast of Fiona in the Middle. Once again, Melissa Stanley, who plays Fiona's sister Frankie in the show, was not available to join us the evening that we were recording that conversation, but is also a vital part of everything that's happening. Again, my thanks to the cast members who were able to join us: Nick Hamilton, Roxanne Reisner, Steve Weiland, Jenny Conley, Carissa Wheelock, and me. It's people keep asking me, how's it going, how's it coming together. I have friends and family members and others who are currently or have been very involved in theater and in performance, and so they are always looking in on me just to see. It's kind of that the litmus test. Do I look like I'm falling apart? And quite frankly, one of my philosophies about live theater as well is it's going to be what it's going to be. Now, that doesn't take away anything from the idea that we are striving for and working toward excellence, not perfection, as I don't believe I don't believe there should be perfection in live performance, because I think the fact that it's not perfect, but it's still excellent is what makes it live. Because that's us as human beings. We're not perfect, but we can strive for excellence. Enough of that soapboxing. This was a great conversation, and we have posted a few times now, repeated in there, the link for the Eventbrite page. You can also just go online and Google Eventbrite Fiona in the Middle, and it will get you there. If you go on Jenny's Facebook page, my Facebook page, others that you may be connected with, we have put up there and will continue to put up there over the next several days the links, the reminders that that's coming up. Also wanted to share that Jenny has had the opportunity to talk to some reporters in the local area, and there have been a few. I didn't have this open to the page to begin with. I should have, but I didn't have it already open to the right page. But this was just an example of one write-up that was in the local press. Here I am. I'm just reading through it now. Don't worry about me. Wait, now I have to fold it. Now we have to get the folding going the right direction. I hadn't planned on doing this, obviously, but you can see that there is. There we go. Now it's probably not going to show up well because I have blur on. But let's see if I get the angle right. Wait, get the camera focused. No, not going to happen very well. You can pretend like you're myopic and that was actually clear. Anyway, there's been some local publicity for Fiona in the Middle, and I know several of you who are watching today are already planning on being there, already have tickets, and we're looking forward to seeing you there and looking forward to giving you the opportunity to be a part of this story. All right, I do want to share before we finish up today in these last few minutes, just a reminder again, do continue to make your comments and ask your questions. Members of the cast, Jenny was on here today, Carissa, may have been others on here I just didn't pick up on who are members of the cast. But even if they tune in later on, they'll have an opportunity to see your comments and any questions that you might have. And if you have questions about this whole idea of the story, yeah, you can buy tickets. Thank you, Jenny. You can buy tickets at the door as well. They'll be available, same price point. So it's an excellent price point. We're not asking people to put out tons of money for this. What we really want to do is, yes, there are some expenses that need to be covered. And quite frankly, the ticket prices aren't going to cover everything that has gone into bringing this show to performance. But it helps to offset some of that. But it's primarily to get people there to see it because we think it's important. So yes, please do. All right, I want to share a little bit about what's coming up in the next few weeks on Coffee Breaks with Steve. Next week, we have a musician, songwriter, arranger, singer, performer, ministry leader, Kenny Snyder. And interestingly, with the timing of this, Kenny actually also was the composer who took the lyrics that Jenny and Jeff wrote for Fiona in the Middle. And working with Jenny, Kenny was the one who has written the music for this show. That's not going to be the basis for our conversation next week. We're going to be talking about a lot of other things, but you'll want to be here to find out about another wonderful musician. We like to feature musicians on here, and you're going to want to hear Kenny's story. And then, speaking of musicians, we're going to have a return guest in a couple weeks, Beth Roars. You may remember Beth, who is a YouTube star reactor. She reacts to music by other musicians. She also is a voice teacher. She gives instruction on her site. And she's also a performer, and she released an album earlier this year. And there's sort of some backstory to that. But Beth is going to be back on the show in a few weeks, couple of weeks, and sharing some updates about what she has been working on and about her album and about some other projects that she has going. And then on October 19th, Walter and Pamela Jacobson Pratty are going to be on the show. Walter is a soccer coach. They've both been involved in sports over the years, and Walter not only coaches girls soccer locally, but they have a mission that they go down into Latin American country villages where girls are not given the same opportunities as boys. They coach soccer there, and they help to change cultural norms about the importance of the girls and women in those villages and in that society. It's really amazing, and you're going to definitely want to hear what they have to talk about. And then on October 26th, coming up in a month from now, Virginia Balacio is going to be on here. She is a poet, professional poet, published. She is a professional photographer, just a sort of an all-around artist, and she's going to be here to talk about all of her art, her poetry, her photography, and the importance of art in her life. Are there topics that you want to discuss? By the way, those aren't the only people we have in the lineup. We actually have topics and guests pretty much lined up through most of November at this point. However, doesn't mean that we don't want to find more. So if there are topics that you would like to discuss, if there are guests that you would like to see on the show, please don't just write in and say, we'd love to see Oprah on the show. I'm just using that as a reference. Unless you know Oprah personally and you can make an introduction, which brings up the other point. Maybe you know somebody. If you've been watching this show for a while, or you've been in here off and on, you just watched it today, and you recognize that we have some very interesting guests. They don't have to be A-list celebrities someplace. We just love people's stories, and we love to connect with who they are and what they're doing. So maybe you know somebody you think should be part of the conversation on Coffee Breaks with Steve. You can send us an email at cbwsteve@comcast.net to let us know the topics, the guests, and even make introductions to guests that you think should be part of our virtual coffee table in our show. And that's happened so many times. It's so many of our guests and our topics have come from you. So please do that. Finally, and importantly, and I'm going to put the link in the chat. We talk about it every week, but we have a YouTube channel as well. And while we encourage people who are tuning in live to tune in on Facebook, because that's where the majority of the chat takes place, and it's just much easier and more consistent to engage there, the show is also available on YouTube. And particularly on YouTube, when the show is recorded and available for later viewing, we would love to get it out to a broader audience. We would love for more people nationally and internationally. We've had people tune in from all over the world for various topics and various guests. But so many of our topics, so many of our guests really deserve to have a much bigger audience. That takes nothing away from the intimacy and the core group here that sits around our virtual coffee table each week. But just consider how many more people could be moved and touched and impacted if they were a part of this conversation on a bigger level. So please, if you are not already subscribed to our YouTube channel, the link is in the chat, and we just invite you to please go there and subscribe and be part of that part of the conversation as well. And in sharing this link, if you know other people that you think could be part of the Coffee Breaks with Steve broader family and part of the conversation, please share that link with them and encourage them and let them know, just like we talked today with the cast about why do you think people should come to see Fiona in the Middle? My question to all of you is, why do you think other people should tune into Coffee Breaks with Steve? If you don't think they should, no problem. But if you think that there's some value to that, please consider sharing that with them, and let us know, how we can reach out to more people. And Rick, I do see your TV doesn't show people's comments on YouTube. That's because most of the comments are typically taking place here. If people do comment, they don't connect. So that's again why we encourage people who are tuning in live to tune in here. And even if you go in later on YouTube, you're not going to see the Facebook comments. They're kind of two separate things. But we continue to do that because we know that Facebook is going to be the more intimate live place for people to tune in. YouTube provides an opportunity, and if more people are on YouTube and they're watching the recordings and they're making comments later, those comments as standalones become part of a conversation as well, and we can go out and check those and respond to those, whether it's me going back and checking them, our guests being able to go back there and check them. It's just another way that we can reach more people. So absolutely. I'm just one more time also going to post our email address. We share that, but I want to make sure that you can also find that if you or someone wants to message us with whether it's an important date for our sweet and savory, or it's ideas for topics, or just wants to reach out. We've gotten letters from people who have just on their own tuned in to someplace, like tuned in on Facebook to watch an episode live, or tuned in later on to watch on YouTube, who sent us emails to let us know how a particular episode impacted them. So we want to make sure you have that as well. Okay, I've rambled long enough. We've actually gone a little bit over now. So again, I want to thank the members of our cast who were able to be here today. And I want to say thank you as well to Jenny, and a posthumous thank you to Jeff Windsor for creating this basis, creating Fiona in the Middle, and just this cast for coming together, and the crew for coming together around this so that we can be ready next week to share this in a very, I hope, impactful way. Thank all of you for taking the time to join in and join the conversation today. And just to encourage you, as we do every week, to find a way to make a difference in your world this week. There's so many ways that we can do that, and we can each be an advocate for the things that are most important to us. So God bless you. We'll see you next time on Coffee Breaks with Steve.